your employees and their families' mental health the same way you do their physical health, and that's certainly better in I think the European countries, how they look at your emotional and mental health the same way as physical, but in the States it hasn't been that way. It's
Really?
always been focused. No, it's always been focused more on the physical health, because that's more tangible.
Hmm.
That's tangible. Somebody breaks their arm. Somebody is fighting a disease, such as cancer, for example. But
Yeah.
the mental health, the emotional side of it, isn't as tangible. And also in the U.S., I think there's some stigma to it that, if you are struggling with some mental health issues, that you have a weakness, or you're not as good as a coworker because
Yeah.
you are weaker.
Wow.
And that's been something that I'm glad to say over the years, the past decade, that feeling has gotten smaller, but it's still very much there. But what we've seen over this past year is that people really saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with this new workplace. I'm
Yeah.
struggling with the demands of my job and my family, because now my partner's at home, my kids are, my parents are, quarantined, and they have needs, and it's just taking a toll on me, to my mental health, which then oftentimes, as you know, goes into physical issues. A number of companies, large companies, I've noticed, Jacobs, for example, has really come on strong with the importance of mental health, providing equal health care for people that are struggling on the emotional side, but then also providing a lot more counseling and being upfront about it, and also having support groups at work, that in fellow employees, if they're going through stress or anxiety or depression, they can come together as a group,
Yeah.
and that's incredible. And talking back to the UK and in Europe, I came to the UK uh, with a lot of those, I think, feelings like I described in the US. And I had an employee one time say that he was going to take some sick days, that
Yeah.
he needed to just take some time off. Work was he had a lot of demands, and he just needed some time off. So he needed a few days for mental health. And the way he presented it was no different in his approach than saying that he had a cold or a flu, or that he had a sick child that he needed to take care of. It was about his mental health, and there was no shame or hesitancy. And of course, my first reaction was, "You're not sick. You don't look sick."
Yeah.
And you don't have cold
Yeah.
symptoms, you don't have a runny nose, those kind of things, and you just want to take a couple days off. But I quickly realized, and I've always been a proponent of mental health,
Yeah.
uh, but to actually see my response, I said, okay, well, you're not looking at this the right way. And over my 4 years in Europe, I really got to a much better balance, that it's the same. And now back in the States, there's been numerous articles about the importance of it, and not just the importance, but of recognize it, but doing different things to address it. And that's where
Yeah.
I use companies like Jacobs, and there's many others that are actually proactively communicating the importance of it, how it affects the workforce, and some ways to help their employees through that. And
Yeah.
so
I think it's
that's a topic that just is. I'm so glad that we're not just addressing it, but managers and companies being comfortable that, like I said earlier, it's the same as being physically ill.
yeah.
Is that mentally ill, you need to treat it and get better, and then return to normal.
Yeah. I mean, for too many years, it's been quite a taboo subject, and I think it's because people haven't been equipped with the tools and support by the organization in how to address it with people. And I think one of the consequences of actually being in this pandemic, and now that people are actually experiencing mental health themselves, is that it's actually demystifying this all too taboo subject to actually show that mental illness actually affects and can affect everyone. Consequence of the pandemic is that now organizations have had to be front of foot to actually deal with mental health and deal
Yeah,
with their
I think
employees.
I think I think the that it's not such a big mystery
Yeah,
anymore. And your point that you said about it being such a taboo subject, I think a big reason why it's at least in the States coming down is that there's just so many more people that are experiencing stress, anxiety, depression, uncertainty. That's all being in the forefront because of COVID. It certainly was there, but now because just of sheer numbers of people experiencing those struggles, they're more comfortable in talking about it
yeah,
because so many more people can relate and they say, yeah, me too. Me too. And that includes, like you said, leadership.
yes, indeed, yeah.
Yeah.